Welcome back, friend. All right. I've been off for a while with this long COVID thing, but I've been getting a lot of questions. And today I just want to share with you an answer to a big question. Let me just look on here. I've been getting a lot of questions that boil down to the same thing, which is really how can I start being a better guitar player? How can I become better at guitar? But then you can fill in the blank. How can I become better at the guitar as strumming patterns, finger picking patterns, left hand scale technique, you name it, you know what I mean? Walking bass lines or a song, anything that you feel is going to make is you want to get better at. But it boils down to this sort of idea that if we look at the components that cause the progress for anyone, we're really a lot of times talking in the sort of crude broad brush: your head, your hands, your hearing, theory, technique, and ear training, right? So I want to show you a simple exercise, and by the end of this video, I'm hoping that you'll see a new way of thinking about how to learn guitar. So that's kind of like revolutionary, because I don't hear anyone else saying this, you know what I mean? It's evolutionary to me. I've been doing this, and it's built up over decades of, sometimes I don't listen to myself, sometimes I break my own rules, but I've had great success with people, and I've got a reputation for helping people who have troubles. People have heard me say this before, people that have some barrier or obstacle that we try to make a way of making it playable. So the foundation of this is that we're going to do three things. We're going to take something abstract from our heads. We're going to connect it to something physical. And part of that is a way of unlocking what you already have as rhythm. As for instance, when you walk or swim or ride a bike and you find a regular rhythm and you're not thinking about how many beats per minute it is, or if there's a pattern that needs to change, you're just doing this thing and it just happens, And so that kind of falls off the back of the truck down a dark road somewhere when we pick up a guitar. A lot of the times it's like, you got something that's going like, say some of you that are learning how to do down, down, up, down, up kind of rhythm. And it's like, it doesn't compute at first, but really you can get it to the point where that's just like walking, where a rhythm of your hand is just, like rolling your fingers on a table, or something that you're, doing that your body does anyway. So we're going to try and connect that. We're going to try and get the aural process involved by vocalizing. So we're trying to connect our head, our hands, our hearing, and it kind of through the back door for the hearing, because we're going to make noise rather than, we're going to hear ourselves talking. And the other thing is a sort of kind of mindset thing, really. It is kind of do a little bit with sort of the spirit side of you. What makes you feel good? What kicks off a bit of dopamine? When you do this, you can't watch a tree grow a lot of time when you're learning how to play anything, or do anything. And sometimes you're progressing, you don't realize it. And it gets frustrating, and the frustration actually starts to build a little bit of a wall. So if you do this thing this way, you can easily measure your project progress. In fact, you can measure it instantaneously as you do it right now, as you watch this video and you try this. And then you'll get that little hit. And from that, you'll start to see that as we do, you'll see some of my other videos and or articles I've written about trapped and void time, and how you can really use that little kick to your advantage to get your brain thinking, man, I can't wait to get back. I know exactly what I'm going to do when I pick up the guitar again, because I didn't have time to finish before, that kind of thing. So back to what we're doing today, we're going to have a simple recognition exercise that unlocks the rhythm of our body naturally, and then creates an aural process that helps us reinforce this. It's all in the aid of doing these multitasking neural pathways. It's called synaptic strength. The simple term is muscle memory, but it's more than muscle memory, because it's also to do with the mindset and recognition of abstract things like patterns in theory and stuff. So this is what we're trying to build, and you'll get better at anything that you're trying to do if you start to think this way and master this process. So you grab a guitar, and I've got it just hopefully so you can hear a bit of that. Now all you want to do, the simple exercise is you're going to learn the open string names. Okay, I know you know them already. Eddie Ain't Dynamite, Goodbye Eddie. But you'd be surprised about how many times if I say to someone, where's the B string? And they go, Eddie Ain't Dynamite. good B, you know, like that. It's like me saying, what's this made out of? And you going rubber, cork, plastic, metal, wood, you know, going through a list. You want to be able to look at those strings. Let's see if I can do this so you can see it. Let me get my little notepad out of the way here. And you just want to say, like, you know, I'm looking at that and I think, you know, it's a G, it's a U, it's an I, it's a B, it's an O, it's a B, it's an A, it's a T, it's an R, it's an A, it's a K, it's an I, E, you know, you look at those letters and you can just go bang, 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 and you can tell me what they are. It's a G, it's a U, it's an I, it's a T, it's an O, it's a B. You know, you're not thinking about anything else. You just see it and you see it for what it is. And this is one of the things we want to do with the strings. Maybe you already are better at this than me, but if you're anything like me, you still sort of have to do this a bit sometimes. So we want to recognize these things, like that's always going to be the G string. You know, it's like the letter G. I don't have to go through a list. I don't have to see it as the fourth one from the ceiling. It's just the G. That's where it is. If you were to turn these into letters, you know, like thin, 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 a fat line, thin line or something, and make your little alphabet out of that, you would soon get to the point where, you know, an A looks like an A and a G looks like a G and all that sort of stuff, you know. So you're learning 12 notes really, because this is an A. I know an A is 110 vibrations per second, so I'm not going to geek out too much on the hertz and the theory and all that. But I know that when I get to here, it's double the frequency. So I basically got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A again. So the 12th fret is just a repeat of the nut, and then a little guitar starts over. So if you've got these sort of 12 notes, you've got a lot of notes that you've done. And later again on some of the other videos you'll see, using some of the techniques that we use doing exactly this, you can learn within 5 to 10 minutes. I'll do a video. 5-10 minutes, you've got 50% of the whole fretboard mapped. And you may not be able to do this fast you're doing this now, but you'll have it mapped and you know how to do this on it. And it only takes 5 or 10 minutes. So it's just a little bit of theory, a little bit of mindset, and a little bit of technique. So what you want to do, I'm not going to pick up a pick. You could have had a pick if you want, and held it and practice hiding your pick. But just take a finger. Index finger's good. And you just want to, if you have a metronome, let's see, we'll set this. I'm going to set that for 80. So it's 80. Now, 80 means 80 beats per minute. So it's a little more than faster than a second each. Now, all I want to do is I want to tap the string in time with that tick. And that's all. That's my first goal, just tapping. I'm going to tap the G string. You can choose any string you want, but you got to know the name of it. I'm tapping the G string. I might just turn this down while I'm talking, and then you want to start moving around, you'll be able to hear it better. So I'm staying on that tap, and then I'm thinking, and I want to say it out loud, a G, 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 G. Now, once I get going, maybe I just say G, tap, and don't say it again. G. Tap as many times as I feel like it. G. And then what I want to do is think, make a decision as I'm tapping. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep moving from my tapping movement there. And then I'm going to move to another string. I'm going to choose the B, let's say. So I've already chosen. I'm going to go B. You can hear the string, and you can hear your own voice saying B. Then G. B. G, B, G, B. Then I'm going to start adding at any rate that I want, any rate that you want, not what I want you to do, not what you want me to do. I'm going to do mine, you do yours. You just go say, I'm going to go G, then B, then E, then D, E, and D, and E, E, B, D, G, B, D, E, B, G. Now my A, add my A, excuse me. D, G, whoop, I missed, that's A. A D, whoops, I'm off the lick. G, D, A, E, D, A, G, B, E, D, G, B. Get it? I'm going to keep doing that for a while. This only takes 30 or 40 seconds to do. You can turn that off if it drives you nuts. Just say, I'm started at 80, and that's about 80. And then you turn it off so you don't go crazy with the clicking driving you nuts. And then you just bounce around so you think, okay, I got it. You want to reach the point, all 6 strings at random, and you're hitting them all, and you're only hitting them once each, like E, then D, then B, then G, then E, then A, then G, then D, then E, then B. And happily just sort of puddle along like that until you think, right, I've got that. I can hit them in time. I'm not missing. I'm not going, oops, that was a G, you know. And then you say, okay, I don't know, let's speed it up. You don't have to go this, double it like that. I'm going to go to 120. That's probably a safe bet for me right now. So I turn it on. Even if I turn it on just to get the tempo, so I can get the feel of that. And now I'm thinking, can I still do that without sticking on the G? Like G, then the B. Maybe I'll warm up first. Then the G and the B, and the G and the B and the E and the G and the E and the G and the B and the D and the G and the A and the B and the G and the D and the E and the A and the D and the B and the G and the E and the E, B and the G and the D and the A and the E. Maybe I turn it off for a while, but you see I'm hitting it once for each click. I'm moving all around the notes, and you just go until it's too fast. Now at this point I might have thought, if I push that any further, I'm done. I'm gonna start cocking up. So I'll write down on a scrap of paper, you know, the blah, blah, blah of August 2025, I was doing 120 beats, 12th fret strings, whatever. You make a little note. This way, you know, right now, you may have tried this for a couple, when you turn this video off and you try this, you may try it for a few minutes and you'll find that you start really slow, and then you're ripping by the end, and you can see the progress instantly. And the next time you pick up your guitar, you'll be thinking, yeah, G, D, A, and E, and G, you know. So you start to absorb those notes. But on top of that, you're absorbing the idea that you're moving when you do it, you're speaking when you do it, and you're saying the string that you're doing it. You're connecting the nervous messages, the nerve messages, the synapse exchanges, in throughout, like sending a message not just by land, but by land, sea, and air, you know, so that later, a quick example of a video that I've done, I'll probably redo it because it's like a COVID video where it was done in the middle of a lesson. But, you know, when you get something like, instead of stabbing, you're using your pick on a string. Maybe now you're going to stab, but you've been stabbing the notes on the E string, the F, the G, the A, the B, the C, the D, the E, the F, the G. Now, most people, if you say to them, say the alphabet backwards from Z to A, if you can do that, if you live close to me, I'll buy you a beer or a coffee, whatever your thing is. But I'd take me, you know, you'd have to bring food and water in here for me to finish saying the alphabet from Z to A, you know what I mean? But I can say it backwards, G, F, E, D, C, B, A pretty easily, because I know that it's going to be the same as the alphabet here, you know, you get, you know, the F, the E, the D, the C, the B, the A, the G, the F, the G, the A, the B, the C, the D, the C, the B, the A, the G, the F, you know, it's G, F, E, D, C, B, A, backwards, because music goes up and down. So you get this little thing going, you got your body used to doing this thing. Now I've started with something like vocalizing straight. Tea, coffee, coffee, tea, coffee, 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 coffee. And then I'm going to turn it into a triplet where I make it like an egg rolling down a hill. Again, I won't do the whole video on this. I just want you to see that one thing leads to another. Da, 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 triplet, lemonade, lemonade, elephant, 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 ra, na, na. Now I'm going to stab the notes. The E that we learned a minute ago. The D, the C, the B, the A. Then I'm going to put a pull-off on. A, B, C, D, E, B, C, B, F, E, D, you know. Then I'm going to speed it up just with my right hand. I stopped and started it again at a higher tempo. Never take things and indiscriminately speed up. That turns you into a monster on stage. It drives drummers and other people crazy. You stop, you start again at a higher rate. So let's say I got going this. And I got my stab. And I'm happy with that. Then I add the pull-off. Oops, I almost sped up indiscriminately. Then I stop, start again. And just keep going until it falls off the back of the truck again, you know? But what you've done is you're starting to connect the abstract, the recognition, with a rhythmic pattern that you're starting to get, you know, from this simple exercise. You're connecting these things together. Oh, my hard drive's running out of space. So the three things that you've got going here, if you've got this recognition exercise going, you're rhythmically getting to the point where something that you already have unlocked in your body when you walk or swim. If you're 6 feet tall and your mate's 4 feet tall and you're walking along, you don't go like this. The smaller person will probably have a shorter gait and a faster walk. You'll have a longer gait and a slower walk, but you will keep together if you're chatting. You'll move along and you won't think about it. It's not like you're trying to do a Fred Astaire or Ginger Rogers dance. You're just walking. So you'll stay side by side. And that happens naturally, internally. When you're at rest, you will breathe in a really normal way. When you pick up a guitar and you're asked to do something that's just at the envelope of what you're used to, it glitches. It hesitates, You just are trying to unlock the rhythm that you already have and transfer it into a place that you don't use it until now. And that is a way of doing it, is taking a metronome and learning the notes. If you already know the notes, start on B flat, and do that, B flat and E flat and B flat and E flat, and build it up just like we did before. And so you can make anything as easy or as hard as you want. But what you're really after is synesthesia. You're after trying to connect one sense or impression of sense to another sense or impression of sense, or one part of your body's action to another part of your body's action. You're speaking a rhythm, lemonade, 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 lemonade. You're going pineapple, pineapple, apple pie, pineapple. You're trying to verbalize, vocalize, connect, and that way when you go down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. You can start to build those up and maybe get something, a little more music. But it's really, just if you say it enough times, your hand will do it. If you do it saying it with your hand, you'll end up doing it. So this is the process. If you learn your 12 notes, then learn all of them that way. Then start going horizontal, and I'll show you again some techniques and stuff in other videos. But for right now, it's the idea of creating one gear in that machine that's using this connective tissue of thought, action, and mindset in order to build a bigger machine that's always linking your head, which is the abstract theory part of it, which is nothing more than the language used to label stuff in music, and your hands, which is just technique, and the way that you use your hands for the size they are and for the way that they work. And then the aural process, which is if you recognize happy birthday and you can call it happy birthday, then you can label a sound. And if you can label a sound, you can train your ear. So those are the three things with all these little subtleties. And this is the mutation of that with this simple recognition exercise. And I hope this kind of changes the way you think about how you can learn music. The more spiritual you make it, the more you make it part of you as the way you think and the way you feel and what you're trying to do with it. And the more you understand, the more you'll be able to get out of it, the more you'll be able to do with it, If you understand that that's all you're doing is a recognition exercise here, and this is a huge thing, being able to be rhythmic, just stabbing those strings and being accurate as the ones you hit. And you can cheat. You can decide, I'm only going to move, and when I know exactly and I hit a string, that's not cheating. It just means that you have to slow down enough that you can say, I'm going to decide in the air that I'm going to go to B, and I do it, And as you get faster and faster, it just means you're getting better and better at it. The recognition, the mindset, the connection between your body and the guitar and the fretboard and the strings is getting tighter and tighter. And that's what you're after with everything. And then you can go back to these questions about finger style, strumming patterns, scale technique, how do I improvise? All these things become easier as you develop the skill set to connect yourself to the guitar, the way that you connect yourself when you're walking without and talking at the same time, where you're not thinking or overthinking it. So anyway, I hope that makes some sense, and have a great day, and I'll catch you next time.